Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another night here in WRC. My name is JP, I'm your commentator. A pleasure to be here, as always, and we find ourselves at one of the most iconic venues for racing in the entire world. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for what is destined to be one brilliant race. But before we race, first we must qualify, and 18 minutes of qualifying from these 17 drivers are before you. Daryl looks to be the first man coming out on track for a McLaren team that have really dominated so far in Formula 1 this season. We have got another driver coming out. I wonder if that's one of the Williams drivers. Let's take a look. It is Blake is the first man out on track, but looks like he's peeling over to the side, potentially for Daryl. Maybe not. Maybe Blake is going to speed up a little bit as we go through one of the most iconic corners on the Formula 1 calendar, the infamous Eau Rouge Radillon and Kemmel Straight complex, racing about a mile down the way to Le Combe, which is easily one of the best overtaking zones on this circuit. Overtaking always very hard on this game, but definitely at the end of the Kemmel Straight, you have got a great opportunity to try and make some places up. So qualifying definitely is not everything around this circuit, but if you are someone like Daryl, you're someone like Mikey, Billy Mewis, you definitely want to be at the front of the field. Don't get involved in any shenanigans down in the mid-pack. Build yourself a gap and ultimately go on to win. I will quickly grab up the championship standings as we are on the outlaps for everyone, just so we can get a better view of what the championship picture currently is. So as per last week, the championship leader is Daryl for McLaren. He is currently on 74 points, and it's then his teammate Zasapi on 53 in second place. Mikey is then third with 50 points. So McLaren, obviously you can tell by the drivers' championship standings, leading the constructors as well. So McLaren going very well here in WRC so far, and the McLaren, a car that should be quite suited to this configuration here in the Belgian hills. But as Blake makes his way onto his first lap, as does Daryl in behind, the Williams, we always know, an absolute rocket in a straight line. And I'm sure that racing all the way down the hill up towards Eau Rouge and then down the Kemmel Straight, we are definitely going to see some speed in that Atlassian Williams car. He makes his way up Eau Rouge, and we will ride on board with the Williams driver as he makes his way down the Kemmel Straight. This will inevitably be a purple first sector, purple meaning fastest if you are new to Formula 1. And if you are new to Formula 1 or new to WRC, welcome in. A pleasure to have you here. If you are interested in the racing action that we've got ahead of you, trust me, you watch one of these races, you will be addicted immediately. The follow button is down below. Make sure that you're turning on that little bell. That will send you notifications every time this channel goes live, every Tuesday, every Thursday, Friday, and starting from tomorrow, Saturdays, with quite a different format. You can see there Blake going very wide through Pouon. That's going to invalidate his lap. So now we switch to Daryl's perspective, who's just making his way through the end of the second sector in that McLaren livery, absolutely shining in the Belgian sun as he makes his way towards the end of the second sector then. It's a 15-5 split for the McLaren driver. On board with him as we race down to Blanchimont, I believe. This next very fast left-hander, almost not even a corner for these Formula 1 cars. Don't even have to think about lifting, just a little flick of the steering wheel, and then into the infamous bus stop chicane. Slam on the brakes, pick your turning point, little bit of a wobble from the McLaren, crying out. The rear tyres not happy with the stability, but Daryl inevitably goes fastest with a 1 minute 43.9, who is then displaced immediately by Ferrari for life with a 1 minute 42.3, and what a lap that is very early on from the Ferrari driver. McLaren arguably should not be leading the Constructors' Championship. Both Ferrari drivers, Billy and Ferrari for life, especially in qualifying, absolutely dominating. It's normally 1-2s in every single session, but in the race, just a bit of bad luck and some driver error, and that has really cost them. Billy Mewis slots into P2, And as I was just saying, a Ferrari 1-2 immediately with Billy on a 42.6, 3/10 behind his teammate. That has really been the picture of Billy's season thus far. Quick enough, but just a little bit shy of his teammate. Zasapi slots into third with a 1 minute 42.7. Darrell's lap definitely looks like he may have made some form of mistake on that lap. That is definitely not the usual Darrell pace. F1 Mikey Boy slots into fourth, just 28 milliseconds behind Zasapi with a 1 minute 42.738. Romeo Blues is now P7 with a 1 minute 43.7 as MCL goes into fifth with a 1 minute 42.8. Plenty of drivers out on laps at the minute. Ollie Southall's just about to cross the line, goes P10 with a 1 minute 43.9, just about 10 milliseconds behind Darrell. We've got Blake racing down to Blanchimont. We've got Brocker in the middle sector. So we'll watch this lap of Blake then. He's managed to stay out, avoid that invalidation through Pouon. A little bit of traffic ahead of him. That's going to be Darrell's McLaren, I believe. Looks nice and stable through the bus stop chicane. A little bit of a wiggle on the exit, but nothing that will trouble him too much. And Blake goes into 11th place with a 1 minute 44.4. So definitely improvement to come from Blake. Brocker on the medium tyres, so you wouldn't imagine this will be a very competitive lap. And it's not going to be a lap at all as he runs very, very wide out of Blanchimont, and that is going to invalidate his attempt. We've got the Sauber of Durex on a lap. We've got Fenrir on a lap. Jenny on a lap as well. So plenty of drivers taking to this track very early on. Still a good while left here in qualifying. We can't see how long left as we've got a few yellow flags in the middle sector. That will just be for drivers slowing down, getting out of the way of guys on quicker laps, and maybe some fuel issues as all these drivers try to run with as little fuel as possible. Obviously, a lighter car is a faster car in qualifying, and qualifying the absolute pinnacle of Formula 1 if you really want to see the true speed of these modern day Formula 1 cars, as King Fenrir slaloming his way through the middle sector. And you can just see that Haas really gripping to the track. It just looks like one flick of the wheel and the car is very obedient to turn in. And that is exactly what you want when you're at the wheel of one of these almost rocket ships. 203, 204 mile an hour for King Fenrir as we make our way through Blanchimont. That speed will dip a little bit with the flick of the steering wheel, but 200 mile an hour as we make our way into the bus stop chicane. Little bit deeper than he probably would have liked, but nothing that's going to trouble him too much. And King Fenrir slots into 7th with a 1 minute 43.3. Next driver to cross the line on a fast lap, I believe it's going to be Jenny for Aston Martin, who I don't believe has raced here before. Very deep into the bus stop chicane. That is definitely not the optimal line. That will cost them time. But as Jenny crosses the line now, goes P14 with a 1 minute 46.2, and will definitely be looking to improve on that. Romeo Blues on his latest lap, 0.3 down. Darrell, I don't believe improved on his lap either. And it doesn't look like maybe we've got MCL on a lap. So we'll stick on board with the Williams driver, who's got plenty of battery left when it comes to this last straight towards Blanchimont. Gets the car tipped in very nicely. That curb can be very dangerous. Even just sticking a single wheel onto that curb and you can find your car in the barriers as quickly as you can say the word barrier. But as through Blanchimont the Williams goes, it's looking tight and neat for the Williams driver. He's used all his battery though. That's going to cost him, braking very early into the bus stop, and he's going to abandon that lap and come into the pit lane. The Alpine of Best Noah embarks on his first lap of this qualifying session. Definitely a very quick driver. You would imagine will be around the pile of Zasapi, Mikey Boy and MCL. So definitely want to be watching this lap for an Alpine team that currently sit, I believe, third in the Constructors' Championship. 20 points off of Aston Martin. Aston Martin not having the greatest outing in qualifying so far. We've got Wise Wizard in 11th and Jenny in 14th. So definitely opportunity for Alpine to try and take advantage. Speaking of Alpine, Andy Price is making his way onto his first lap as Best Noah comes through Pouon. Definitely opportunity for the Alpines to try and gain some ground back. But it's definitely going to be very hard to try and catch McLaren. Ferrari, who, I mean, you can quite easily see, you would argue have the strongest driver pairing, currently last in the Constructors' Championship, joint last technically with Sauber on 12 points. And when you consider McLaren Mercedes have 127 points, that is a big deficit to try and get turned around. Through the bus stop chicane comes Noah then. Where is this lap going to put the Alpine? It's P8, it's above the Aston Martins. That's really all you want to ask for at the minute. I believe we've got Wise Wizard just going onto a lap as well. Brocker is also on a lap. Andy's invalidated his lap, so you would imagine will be into the pit lane. Brocker just making his way towards Puon. Very easy to get an invalidation on the outside. He narrowly avoids that. 7 minutes left of this qualifying session. Ollie Southall in the chat. JP's back, well raced last night. Thank you very much, Ollie. Really appreciate it, my friend. Alpine Dream Team. Hopefully we can see some more of the Alpines. Myself and MCL in Alpine last night. Definitely bringing some glory back to the French outfit. So hopefully the likes of Andy Price and Best Noah can try and keep that momentum going for them. Daryl's saying, I'm nowhere, mate. Damage limitation for the championship leader. That is a big moment there. And Ferrari for Life and Billy Mewis will be hearing that and definitely licking their lips. Mackie in the chat saying, Zasapi, go get the pole. He's definitely not far off it, and he is on an out lap. So just in honour of you, Mackie, let's watch this lap. Off board with Zasapi then. Currently on a 1 minute 42.7. Needs about a half a second improvement if he wants to get ahead of Ferrari for Life. Only about a tenth to split the Ferraris and get to Billy Mewis though. Zasapi looking very confident and very calm in the hands of that McLaren MCL 35. I believe this iteration of the McLaren is, as he makes his way up the hill. And that corner just so iconic, Eau Rouge. You could show that to anyone on the planet and I'm sure they'd be able to tell you, yep, that's Eau Rouge. Blasting his way down the Kemmel Straight, infamous for Crofty's line of here comes Sebastian Vettel in the way to Lecombe. And Zasapi now charges on through the first sector. We will see the end of that first sector, or we have already seen the end of that first sector. I didn't actually catch if Zasapi was up or down on his lap. Zasapi now rounding through No Name Corner and towards Puon. Yellow flag in the first sector. That's for, I believe, the Aston Martin of Wise Wizard. As F1 Mikey Boy with a mighty lap to provisional pole position. A 1 minute 41.9 from the V-Carb driver. And that is definitely going to be a lap to try and contend with. F1 Mikey Boy driving the wheels off of that V-Carb and now finds himself on provisional pole with, I think, about 5 minutes left. Incredible stuff from Mikey, who has been struggling a bit in recent weeks. Last night in the Thursdays tier was out on, I believe, lap 2, lap 3. So definitely looking to come back in the best of ways. And that is exactly what he's doing if he finds himself on provisional pole position. Zappi with a big slide out of the final corner. Does improve to P2 with a 1 minute 42.2. Still about 0.3 off of F1 Mikey Boy. But are Ferrari perhaps starting to feel the pressure of the rest of the grid? Daryl, I believe, is on a lap as well. He is through the first sector, 2.5 tenths down. So it doesn't look like Daryl's going to be matching his teammate during this qualifying session. Obviously, qualifying and the race, two very, very different things. Last night, MCL, I believe, qualified, I think it was about 7th or 8th in that qualifying session and ended up winning the race. So qualifying definitely not everything, especially around a track like Spa where there is so much overtaking opportunity. We can see Daryl really looking like he's struggling with the handling of that McLaren as he now makes his way towards Blanchimont. He's half a tenth up on his lap. That isn't going to see him improve a position. Hot lap mode is on, choosing not to burn the overtake button. And let's see then, as he makes his way in towards the bus stop chicane, is there opportunity for Daryl to gain? Looks tight and neat. Doesn't look like there was any sort of complaining from the McLaren. Drives for the line. It's P8 for Daryl provisionally with a 1 minute 43.4. 3 minutes left of this qualifying session now. And you would imagine most of these drivers are going to make their way onto the track. You can see the track very, very busy for the time being. We'll get rid of the tyre screen. We know that everyone's going to be on the soft compound. So let's see what happens at the end of this. Billy Mewis already out on his lap as Ferrari for Life is only just coming out the pit lane. So Ferrari for Life will definitely have the better track conditions. Billy will be able to lay down the marker. Ferrari for Life will know what he has to beat. And it's definitely arguable of what you prefer. I would most certainly prefer knowing what I've got to compete with. Is Durex gets a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Daryl. It doesn't look like it's resulted in any damage for either driver, but that is definitely a weird one, and the man currently sat 10th. If this is where he qualifies, we'll be starting a best of 15th place. King Fenrir now begins what we assume will be his final lap. Currently sat in 7th place. Billy Mewis now starts his final lap, and you can be very confident that this will be his final lap. Won't have enough time to get round to start another lap and recharge the battery. So Billy Mewis making his way up Eau Rouge for one final time in this qualifying session. Is there opportunity for him to try and gain? MCL looks like he's lagged out of the session. Billy Mewis to Les Combes is 2 tenths up. And that is big improvement for Billy that needs big improvement. If he wants to take pole, he's got to have a 7/10 gain. And that's just to beat Mikey now. If Mikey improves, that gap's going to be even larger. So Billy really needs the lap of his life around Spa-Francorchamps. If he wants even a shot at pole position, he makes his way through Pouhon, the car bouncing. The undulation on this circuit really is quite something, and you can see that on board with the Ferrari as he makes his way into the next chicane. The car wanting to cry out as he runs very wide there and into the gravel, and just a bit over the limit now from Billy. Maybe driving with a bit of desperation. He's lost time in that middle sector. But is there time to be gained in the final one as he now drives towards Blanchimont, towards the bus stop chicane, and then towards the line? Through Blanchimont we go. Overtake enabled. He's going to run out of battery before long, though. Runs out now just before the bus stop chicane. Here he comes then through the bus stop. This has got to be a blinding final sector if he wants pole position. He hits the line now. It's a 10.5 improvement. It's not an improvement in position, and still we've got drivers behind looking to improve. Mikey Boy makes his way up through Eau Rouge. Ferrari for Life is just approaching Pouhon. Zasapi won't get another lap in. He'll start a best of second. And this is really crunch time now as qualifying is over. King Fenrir won't get another lap. Just Sega just coming through the bus stop chicane. Can he try and cause an upset in this session? Comes across the line. Does improve by a 10th. That won't improve him position, though. Billy Mewis cutting his way across the track. Ferrari for Life is a 10.5 up, but that's not going to be enough for pole position. He needs the final sector of his life if this is to be another Ferrari pole position, or is it going to be a first non-Ferrari pole here in the Fridays tier? He makes his way through the bus stop chicane. The Tifosi willing him on in the grandstands. It's good enough for P2, but F1 Mikey Boy looks uncontested. But he is still on a lap and will still try to improve. He was a millisecond down on his best lap through the middle sector. Is the final sector going to prove to have something to maybe keep a shock to the end? He's ran out of battery. He makes his way into the bus stop. This is going to be an F1 Mikey Boy pole position, but can he extend the gap? He's invalidated at the final corner. He will not care, because at the end of the 18 minutes of qualifying, it is F1 Mikey Boy on pole position, and what a lap it was to take it. The only man into the 1 minute 41s. That is an absolute scorcher in the Belgian sun. And F1 Mikey Boy, take a bow, my friend. What a lap. And he will start the Belgian Grand Prix with the best view of turn 1. And turn 1, only about 150, 200 meters away from pole position. He is definitely going to have the advantage, but all the way down the Kemmel Straight, Ferrari for Life, Giuseppe and Billy Mewis will all be looking to try and get themselves into contention. What a qualifying session that was, ladies and gentlemen. So there is your order. F1 Mikey Boy on pole position by what might be one of the biggest gaps we have seen in the Friday's tiers. Giuseppe starts third for McLaren with Billy Mewis in fourth. MCL finishes fifth with Fenrir in sixth. It's Wise Wizard seventh with Sega in eighth. Noah ninth with Durex in 10th, but he will start 15th after that penalty. Daryl is 11th, but will start 10th. And then going down the rest of the order, Brocker brings us up, unable to complete a lap. Well, if qualifying is a precursor for the race, ladies and gentlemen, we're in for an absolute corker. Do not go anywhere. The Grand Prix is up next. Formation lap time, ladies and gentlemen, and Jenny has been disqualified for reversing off the start line. That is definitely one that I haven't seen before, I must say. F1 Mikey Boy sets off then, and we'll have a quick look at the tyres. Looks like quite the split grid. Mikey on pole position, starting on the hard compound tyres. We've then got Ferrari for Life on the medium compound, Giuseppe and Billy on the softs. Elsewhere, we've got Daryl also starting on the hard, so him and Mikey, the only two starting on the hard compound tyres. It looks like we've got a bit of contact there as Brocker went through a hell of a lot of brake boards there, so anyone running no line is going to struggle going into Les Combes, and that is a corner where you really need to know your braking points. A lot of people getting disqualified from this session as we speak. Now the strategies are going to play a big part here. A 100% race strategy is always one of the main talking points. And it's really been thrown up in the air here. Mikey on the hards, Ferrari for Life on the mediums, Giuseppe and Billy on the soft. It is very, very split here. You'd have to expect Giuseppe and Billy Mewis to be very quick off the line and very quick to try and get ahead of Ferrari for Life and Mikey. Mikey's surely going to have to defend for his life. Ollie Southall saying Durex keeps hitting me on purpose. That is quite the odd one. We'll keep on board with the Sauber driver and just see if there is any more antics going on with him. Did the same yesterday. That is quite the unexplainable feat, I will be honest. Definitely something to raise with the stewards, Ollie. As we now come out of the final corner then, and F1 Mikey Boy can get lined up on pole position. 3 cars that were eventually disqualified on the formation lap. And Mikey really looks to be pointing that car to try and cover off Ferrari for life. Ferrari for life really pointing that car towards Mikey Boy. This is going to be a cracker of a start, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get underway. Five red lights ahead of the drivers here in Belgium. And it is lights out, and away we go. Mikey gets away well from pole position, and Zasapi's already up the inside. It's 3 abreast into turn 1. This is very close to contact as Zasapi sneaks through into the lead. It's Billy Mewis who also finds an opening and is up into 2nd. F1 Mikey Boy down to 3rd immediately, as we've got big contact. Ferrari for life already down to 9th. Make that 8th, as him and Ollie South will make contact going up through Eau Rouge. Ferrari for life looking very quick in a straight line. Straight back past MCL as Billy Mewis now to the outside of Lecom. Zasapi just gets deep enough on the brakes to stop that move happening. King Fenrir already looking around the outside of Mikey. Looks like he was just forced off a bit there as Fenrir now having to defend. There's contact again between Zasapi and Billy Mewis. Mikey Boy will be watching that with open eyes as Ferrari for life started 2nd. Had a relatively good start, fell behind Zasapi. There were 3 wide going into turn 1, and somewhere in that, he's lost out, and Ferrari for life already down to 8th. But your running order halfway through lap 1 is Billy Mewis from Zasapi, Mikey Boy in 3rd, Fenrir 4th, and Noah in 5th. The soft runners really making those soft tyres work early on, and all of them gaining positions. Incredible stuff in the opening phases of this Grand Prix. So it's Billy that leads from Zasapi and Mikey, and surely Mikey is going to be under big pressure from Fenrir as we get the DRS enabled on lap 2. All of them will have the DRS all the way back down to actually nobody. Everyone is going to get the DRS from each other. We're all in a big DRS train here, as there you can see the Alpine of Best Noah going a little bit deep into the bus stop. Just Sega forced a little bit wider. Billy Mewis sets the fastest lap of the race, and Best Noah immediately overtaken by Just Sega. But these two are wheel to wheel as we go into turn 1. Little bits of pushing and shoving going on. And now towards Eau Rouge, are we going to see these two continue on wheel to wheel? It most certainly looks like it. That's going to get very close as throwing it up Eau Rouge they go. MCL manages to get through as well. Ferrari for life looking to take advantage as he gets the DRS open once more and changes the position. Going on absolutely everywhere here is round the outside of Lecom. Goes Ferrari for life, who has, I was going to say, has picked up damage, but it doesn't actually look like he has. But all change in the sort of top 5 then. We've got Fenrir 4th, MCL now 5th with Noah 6th, Ferrari 7th, and Just Sega, the man that really lost out there, down to 8th. Ollie Southall and Durex, who seem to be becoming quite a little bit rivalish, shall we say. 9th and 10th at the minute for the Mercedes and the Sauber driver. F1 Mikey Boy already falling off the back of the 2 leaders as we've got a yellow flag, and that looks like it's for the Mercedes of Brocker, who looks to have lost the car through No Name Corner. Manages to continue on though. And Billy Mewis and Zasapi now left to fight at the front. Who is going to have the upper hand here? Zasapi is gaining on the back of Billy, who is harvesting his battery. Is Zasapi potentially looking for a move into the bus stop chicane? He is going to think about it. Just doesn't think that now is the right opportunity. Billy with nearly all of his battery left as we go through the bus stop. DRS enabled for Zasapi, who sets the fastest lap of the race. Now both of them on quite equal battery, it must be said, as we make our way down into turn 1, which I can never remember the name of. Looked like Zasapi got a bit of a better exit out of turn 1. But now we make our way up the Kemmel Straight. Is there opportunity for Zasapi to try and gain? It looks like Billy might have orientated that setup to be quicker in a straight line, because it looks like he's absolutely flying on the straights. MCL manages to get past Mikey and up into 3rd place. And Mikey, it is to be expected on the hard compound tyres that he'll fall behind, but I'm sure at least in the second stint of this race, on a better set of tyres, Mikey will come back to bite these guys on the soft and on the medium. Next driver behind is Ferrari for life, and if there's any man that he really wants to try and hold up, it is going to be this man who qualified second right behind him. These two both losing a lot down into turn 1, who I've just been reminded, thank you very much, Jay, is called La Source. So thank you very much for that, Jay. I do appreciate the communication. I definitely will try and remember that, as Billy Mewis and Giuseppe once more do battle almost on identical battery, these two, and Billy harvesting battery all the way down towards Blanchimont. So definitely having the mental game covered is the Ferrari drivers. Giuseppe following suit, but this is only going to drag MCL into their fight as he's burning the overtake button. These two going slowly to try and outmaneuver each other is only going to bring more people into this fight. MCL, Ferrari for life. Mikey might even get back into it as MCL now sets the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. And once again, the McLaren and the Ferrari both on very similar battery as they come out of La Source and towards Eau Rouge. It just looks like Billy has made that car a little bit quicker in a straight line, but Giuseppe will have the battery to burn, will have the DRS. He is gaining on the back of that Ferrari, but it doesn't look like he's close enough as we make our way into Les Combes. And Giuseppe just has to sit behind. The gap almost looks like it needs to be around 5-6 tenths if he wants an opportunity of overtaking down into Les Combes. But it is very hard to try and stick that close with the dirty air on this game. Ollie, Southall and Best Noah doing battle. Best Noah battling hard on the inside. Southall forced wide. And Noah takes that position away. Blake and Darrell also doing battle in that fight as well. McLaren versus Williams. And McLaren having quite an up and down day when it comes to the championship. Giuseppe doing very well. Darrell struggling a little bit. Is it this configuration of circuit? Is it maybe a setup problem? Who knows? But Darrell now does manage to get through into 10th place as it looks like Blake has been off the track somewhere. Durex has fallen behind. Andy Price also running off the track as well and almost into the back there of Durex. Is now down the inside we go. And Durex loses that position as well. Now down to 13th place. And Romeo Blues nearly losing the car there on the outside, but nothing it's really going to put pay to that. Billy Mewis looks like he used a bit of battery to try and get away from Giuseppe there. Giuseppe saved a bit more battery and is still in the DRS. So definitely very interesting to see the different tactics going on at the front. F1 Mikey Boy doing a great job to stick to MCL. Ferrari for life doing a very great job of sticking to F1 Mikey Boy, and this is going to get very close as we make our way up Eau Rouge. Neither of them really with any battery at all, including MCL. So while Giuseppe and Billy save their battery to do combat with each other, it seems that Ferrari for life, Mikey and MCL are all struggling a little bit with trying to save the battery. CT Gunner saying Giuseppe's my cousin. Well, definitely willing him on in the chat then. Looks like he's just been dropped by Billy Mewis as we make our way through the first sector, but it's a long old middle sector and a long old final sector for Giuseppe to try and get back into the DRS range as we go through Pouant. And using a bit more battery, you can see Giuseppe plenty of battery left to be burned as Billy uses all of the tools at his disposal to try and get Giuseppe out of the DRS. But it just looks like Giuseppe has the pace to keep with him. We haven't seen the pace to overtake yet. Maybe that is a strategy by Giuseppe just to lull Billy into a false sense of security. As they both now switch all of the ERS off, Giuseppe still gaining, using a bit more battery to close right up to the back of the Ferrari man. And he is right up to the back of him, and he is going for an overtake here as we go into the bus stop chicane. Round the outside goes Giuseppe, bit of contact between them, but the McLaren driver now leads here in Belgium. Caught Billy a bit napping there, has used a lot of battery, weaving all over the place is Giuseppe as we make our way down into Les Combes. But look at the grip that Billy Mewis has. This is surely only going to be a matter of time until Billy gets his position back. He's going for it towards Eau Rouge. That was a late move there by Zasapi as they make contact. But now up the hill they go and down the Kemmel straight. Here comes Billy Mewis for Ferrari and immediately takes the position back again. So we'll change at the front. And look who's arriving on the scene now. MCL, with that little bit of toying around and contact, has now joined the party. And Mikey Boy isn't far behind, nor is Ferrari for Life. This 2-car battle has just turned into a 5-car battle. And that is exactly what we want to be seeing. Zasapi looks to be struggling a little bit in this middle sector. A little bit more battery usage for Billy Mewis though, so that ultimately could be the reason why the time is dropping off a little bit. It will be interesting to see when these soft guys decide it is time to make their way into the pit lane. I would have imagined sort of around lap 9, lap 10, maybe lap 12 at a push. But as we make our way now, racing towards Blanchimont, Billy has got him out of the DRS and Zasapi still weaving around. MCL is going to look to go for the move here, it looks like, towards Blanchimont, looking for the outside line. Zasapi covers that. MCL has to back out of it. As now towards the bus stop chicane we go. Is MCL going to chuck a move down the inside? Just not able to, but Zasapi losing it under braking. MCL now to the outside is forced off by Zasapi onto the curb. And all this is doing is letting Billy Mewis escape. But now, F1 Mikey Boy getting involved. Ferrari for Life getting involved. We're 3 abreast into turn 1. This is very close to contact. Mikey Boy gets 3rd. Ferrari for Life gets 4th. And after all that, running 2nd for so long, Zasapi, in the space of a single corner, now down 3 places, finds himself in 5th. Will have the DRS to try and fight. It will be MCL that doesn't have the DRS, so can F1 Mikey Boy try and get himself back up into 2nd place? As we make our way towards Lecombe, Ferrari for Life goes for it. And Mikey, who just backed out, Ferrari for Life thought, screw that, if you're going to mess around, I'm not. Opportunist move from the Ferrari man, and how can you blame him? Mikey, you would have to argue, should have gone for that move. It was more than on. And Ferrari for Life saying thank you very much, snatches the position away. And now it is Ferrari 1-3 here in Belgium. Lap 7 of 44 of the Belgian Grand Prix. And Ferrari for Life now right behind MCL, who has been saving a lot of his battery. So could that play dividends in this fight between the Ferrari and the Williams? As now towards Blanchimont we go. You can see MCL using a bit of battery now as he realizes the threat. Now turns it off. Ferrari for Life is going to go for it. To the outside of Blanchimont we go. As we go round the outside, the move is done and it is a Ferrari 1-2 here in Belgium. Billy Mewis leads Ferrari for Life. The gap 1.7 seconds, but the battery advantage very much so going to MCL. So you would imagine this position surely has a great chance of being taken away as we make our way into Eau Rouge. Zasapi already falling off. Those soft tyres look to have had it on his car. But MCL, we watch him as he races up Eau Rouge right behind the Ferrari. Dirty air not affecting the Williams driver at all. And as we now make our way towards the inside, MCL snatches the position away again and splits the Ferraris once more. Ferrari for Life held that position for about a single sector. MCL saying thank you very much. And definitely playing the long game is MCL in this race, using a bit more battery as well, maybe seeing if he can try and catch up to the back of Billy Mewis. That DRS would be very helpful and could find himself in succession for 2 race wins in a row. One last night in the Thursdays tier for Alpine. Can he replicate that performance tonight for Williams? Through the middle sector we go now, and he is making his way into the DRS of Billy Mewis. So this is a big moment for the complexion of this race. Billy draining the battery to try and run away. MCL draining the battery to try and stick with him. And it looks like MCL maybe has the advantage. But is this going to cost Billy Mewis? Because if he doesn't get out of the DRS, he's used all of his deploy as has MCL. And in fact, that is going to work in Billy's favour. Ferrari for Life, however, will be ready to pounce as he gets the DRS and the overtake button on. MCL, he was playing the smart game for a while. Looks like he's just maybe lost that a bit. Is towards Les Combes we go. Not towards Les Combes, towards La Source we go. Ferrari for Life thinks about the move, then decides against it, but draining the battery out of La Source is the Ferrari man. He's got a little less than MCL though, but will have the DRS to try and get this move done once more then. All the while, that gap is coming down to Billy Mewis, who doesn't have much battery for himself, but here comes Ferrari for Life then, towards the outside of Les Combes. Is the move made? He breaks deep. MCL tries it round the outside, just isn't able to fight through. Mikey Boy looking at this with impotence, seeing if there's a gap for a V-carb to try and make his way through, but Ferrari for Life finally gets that move done. Darrell's been making moves as well. Got past Ollie Southall about a sector ago. Now makes his way past the Alpine of Best Noah. And it definitely looks like we've seen the best of those soft compound tyres. So I think my prediction of around lap 9 to lap 12 could have been correct for the lifespan of these soft compound tyres. We will obviously wait and see to see when these drivers try to come in. But it looks like everyone is having to push quite hard, which means there really isn't much tyre management going on. Billy Mewis making his way towards Blanchimont, draining the battery. Ferrari for Life draining the battery, trying to keep himself in that DRS. But Billy, with plenty more battery to play with, it's going to be close as we make our way towards the bus stop. It just looks like Billy is going to be able to get himself out of the DRS. And he's done exactly that. But will he have enough to try and keep Billy behind as we make our way towards La Source and then out towards Eau Rouge? Eight-tenths of a second is the gap, and that is all you need to be in the DRS. So Ferrari for Life, finally. Billy Mewis will have a challenger. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Brocker, who's had a big moment once again coming out of no-name corner. I can't see if there's any damage to the Mercedes. The running order stays the same, although Mikey has managed to get through on MCL as they make their way into La Source, and it looks like Brocker has had enough of the Belgian Grand Prix as he drifts his way through Pouhon. And are we maybe about to see a retirement on track here as Brocker, he now gets lapped by the Ferraris, is making his way through all the signposts. It doesn't look like he's going to retire. Luckily, we definitely don't want sort of an intentional crash, but once again, round again, goes the Mercedes, and all these yellow flags are going to stop people overtaking. And it just doesn't look like it's Brocker's night here, to be honest, in Belgium. Definitely struggling with either the tyres or the setup on that Mercedes-Benz, as there's even more change as we go through, and Mikey Boy now takes second place as Billy makes his way into the pit lane. So 10 laps looks to be the lifespan of the soft compound tyres. Billy Mewis bolts on the medium compound tyres, and we are about a fourth of the way through this race. Lap 11 of 44, and are we going to see F1 Mikey Boy retake the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix? That's exactly what we're going to see, as F1 Mikey Boy gets through and once again leads the Belgian Grand Prix. First time we can say that since lap 1, and it looks like we've got a virtual safety car deployed as Brocker has once again had a moment and now retires on track. That car then pulls over to the side of the circuit, and it is only a virtual safety car, so the cars won't have to bunch up. I'll tell you who that won't help though. Billy Mewis, who needed this outlap to be as good as possible to try and make this undercut work. But the likes of F1 Mikey Boy, Ferrari for Life, MCL, you wouldn't imagine any of them will come into the pit lane yet because of the difference in tyres. But Billy Mewis definitely having his progress hindered by that virtual safety car, as it looks like Mikey is getting racing, and we have got a through drive-throughs as we get going again. It's only the one drive-through, that's for just Sega. And a much better restart for Ferrari for Life, gets himself into the lead. But is that a wise choice? Because DRS immediately coming up for F1 Mikey Boy. So was that a wise decision by the Ferrari to try and go through? DRS enabled for Mikey, not draining any battery. He knows his best chance of an overtake will be down the Kemmel straight. MCL also involved in this fight. Just Sega still continuing on after getting that drive through. Billy Mewis gets through on Ollie Southall, who comes in to the pit lane. And all the guys on soft tyres have now made their way into the pits. Here comes F1 Mikey Boy then towards the Kemmel straight. Doesn't even look like he's going to need the braking zone of Les Combes, as F1 Mikey Boy retakes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. MCL still in right behind as well, and definitely with an opportunity to fight. But Mikey's pace at the minute on the hard compound tyres looks absolutely unmatchable. The strategy's very, very different though, and I think the only time we're going to really know who's going to win this race is at the end, of lap 44, which is exactly how you want your Formula 1 Grand Prix to go. Billy Mewis needs to make up a few more positions, but is still in that fight. MCL picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could pay dividends at the end of the Grand Prix. F1 Mikey Boy, incredible pace on hard compound tyres. Imagine him when he's not on the hards. Imagine him when he's on a quicker set of tyres. Ferrari for Life, looking very quick on the mediums. Came back from about 10th place at the end of lap 1. So this is definitely going to be a hard one to call. But F1 Mikey Boy currently looks absolutely unstoppable at the front of this race. MCL and Ferrari for Life definitely closing in behind though, and this is a battle that is far from over yet. Burning the overtake is Ferrari for Life. Mikey saving a bit more of the battery. But Ferrari for Life looks like he'll have enough of the battery and will have the DRS advantage as well. As still harvesting is Mikey as we make our way up Eau Rouge. And this is only going to let Ferrari for Life get closer. Now burning the overtake is Mikey, but Ferrari for Life is just too close to try and defend. It looks like MCL's also getting involved. We're 3 wide as we make our way towards Les Combes. F1 Mikey Boy's been dropped. Ferrari for Life and MCL fight their way through Les Combes. And it is Ferrari for Life who comes out on top. MCL now takes second place and Mikey Boy runs third. And these two scrapping is only going to be helping Billy Mewis, who's now right on the back of the McLaren of Daryl. As we make our way down into No Name Corner, that's a dive bomb from Billy Mewis. Daryl definitely won't take too kindly to that, but there's not much that he can do to try and fight it. And Billy Mewis now up into 5th place, about a 4-second gap to try and get up to just Sega, who has a drive-through and I believe will have to box on this lap anyway. Or it might be next lap he has to pit actually, but just Sega I doubt will be much of a threat for Billy. So is Sega gonna come in and get that drive-through served? He is indeed. So Billy Mewis will be released then, and we'll have about a 9-second gap to try and get to the back of F1 Mikey Boy. He sets the fastest lap of the race, and we make our way with the leaders back towards Eau Rouge once more. No change of position on that lap. Andy Price is looking round the outside of Darrell and makes his way, or does he, into 5th place. Darrell with the more optimal line, let's say, and does manage to stay ahead of Andy's car. Little bit of a lock-up there for Darrell as we make our way into No Name Corner. Ferrari for Life looks to have quite the pace at the minute. F1 Mikey Boy, however, looks to have a little bit more pace as F1 Mikey Boy moves through into 2nd place and now is getting right up to the back of Ferrari for Life. So the complexion of this race, it almost changes with every turning corner. Positions changing everywhere, strategies are different. It almost looks uncomparable with every lap that goes through. And once again, towards Eau Rouge we go. Round the outside, looks Mikey, just doesn't look like there's enough of a gap to try and get through. MCL seems to be struggling a little bit with the pace of the Williams at the minute. As we've got a retiree, that's King Fenrir, who I believe has come into the pit lane to retire. It is King Fenrir retiring in the pit lane and leaving the session. And the Haas driver definitely not having the race that he would have wanted. Mikey Boy still right on the back of Ferrari for Life as we make our way through the middle sector. And is there maybe a move into Blanchimont? Ferrari for Life saving his battery. F1 Mikey Boy not doing the same thing, now decides to save the battery. Is he going to go for it into the bus stop? It looks like he's going for it into the bus stop. He is, and gets the position. Ferrari for Life as well picks up a 3-second penalty. So advantage Mikey at this stage of the race. He's the only one of them without a penalty. He might not be in the best position on track because you would imagine he will get overtaken as we make our way up towards Eau Rouge and down the Camel Straight. But definitely advantage to him. Is DRS and ERS enabled for the Ferrari, who switches to the inside line. Very late move there from Ferrari for Life, who locks up in trying to get the car slowed down, but does make the move again. And Ferrari for Life now moves through again into the lead. MCL still looking patiently in 3rd place. Plenty of battery on board with the Williams driver, 100% to be in fact. And definitely biding his time, waiting for his opportunity to try and make a move through. It looks like that opportunity has come now, though, as into the bus stop chicane, MCL goes through. I'm just trying to work out in my head the lifespan of the mediums. So the softs lasted 10 laps maximum. You would like to think that the mediums will double that. So I'd assume around let's say lap 19 to lap 22, I'm going to say, is the optimal time for the mediums to pit, as F1 Mikey Boy gets straight back through on MCL, but Ferrari for life, with those two arguing, manages to stay in the lead. Mackie saying there's a Zasapi masterclass incoming. Currently running 5th is Zasapi, 10 seconds behind Billy Mewis, who has really caught back up to this fight. And the rest of these drivers, MCL, Mikey and Ferrari for life, all still yet to pit. You would imagine Billy will have to come into the pit lane again, but has caught up all the time that he lost from his pit stop. The advantage definitely looks like it's swinging the way of Mikey and Billy thus far. But you've got to remember that 6-lap-old tyres for Billy, the tyre delta that Ferrari for life, Mikey and MCL will have on him, is definitely going to be quite a big one. Down into turn 1 we go once more then, and it looks like MCL, he is going to drop out of the DRS to Mikey, who's in the DRS of Ferrari for life. Billy Mewis well within the DRS of MCL, so this is a very good opportunity for Billy to try and make his way back into the podium places. MCL does not even have an answer for it and makes his way through, does Billy, into 3rd place. Mikey still stuck behind Ferrari for life, and Billy on those newer tyres. Maybe a bit of a strategy going on between Ferrari for life and Billy Mewis, as we've got another virtual safety car, and it looks like that was for the Aston Martin of Jenny. No full safety car deployed thus far. It looks like we will stick under virtual safety car conditions for the time being. Now, like I say, I do think next lap to around lap 21, lap 22 will be the best time for the medium runners to come into the pit lane, as we get to green flag running once more. And Mikey looked to have got a very good restart off of the virtual safety car and is right behind Ferrari for life. Billy Mewis also getting involved in behind MCL. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in this lap. It looks like he's struggling a little bit with the tyres, decides to stay out anyway, and F1 Mikey Boy right on the back of Ferrari for life. Billy Mewis joining this train now. Ferrari leads, VCarb leads Ferrari, and it is surely only a matter of time before this kicks off, and it looks like that fight is going to ensue now, as up Eau Rouge and Radion we go, and towards the Kemmel Straight. DRS for Mikey, DRS for Billy, both of them with the same battery. So here we go, to the outside goes Mikey, following him through is Billy. Ferrari for life knew he couldn't fight Mikey Boy, let his teammate Billy Mewis go, and now it is the top two left to scrap once more. Billy Mewis versus Mikey, and you would have to imagine with the difference in tyres, it's going to be Billy that wins out that fight. But any lap that Mikey can try and make Billy sit behind and burn up those medium compound tyres is definitely bringing the advantage back towards himself. Losing a little bit of the battery there was Billy, just to try and bring the gap a bit closer. Both of them harvesting battery, but Billy in the reduced harvesting mode, so a little bit more battery going the way of F1 Mikey Boy. As through the bus stop chicane we go, and MCL finally is going to dive into the pit lane. So, F1 Mikey Boy leads Billy, who gives him a little bit of a love tap into last source. Ferrari for life in third. Zasapi now in fourth with MCL's pit stop. On top of soft compound tyres is MCL, so definitely two-stopping is the Williams driver. But is this the moment Billy retakes the lead? I have a feeling it is, because Mikey really doesn't have the tools to fight that one. And through goes Billy, back into the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix, and now just needs to try and get as far away from his teammate and Mikey as possible. Towards the bus stop chicane we go then, and Mikey, I must say, doing a very impressive job of sticking in the DRS of Billy Mewis. And is there an opportunity for him to try and get an overtake done? It looks like it's just going to be a little bit too much. Ferrari for life makes his way into the pit lane. That leaves these two out in the lead to do battle. And Billy, we know he's very quick in a straight line from his battle with Zasapi. F1 Mikey Boy, maybe a little bit quicker in a straight line than Zasapi might be, but with those degrading hard compound tyres, it is going to be hard for Mikey to try and catch up. And ERS battery advantage going to Billy as well, so the DRS actually not doing a thing for Mikey. I wouldn't imagine Mikey will pit relatively soon. I would imagine he'll be in sort of around lap, you know, if Mikey can get to lap 30, maybe a bit after that, and bolt on a set of the soft compound tyres, pull out the one stop. We saw how quick the soft compound tyres were. That definitely could be the strategy for Mikey if he can try and stay out till about lap 34, lap 35, if the tyres will allow him to do so. Yes, he might lose a lot of time to Billy, but we'd imagine Billy will have to pit again. And if Mikey can try and get the one stop onto the soft compound tyres, I think that would be the optimal strategy for him. But unfortunately, here in the comms booth, we don't know the tyre percentages. So there is a chance that those tyres are absolutely ruined for F1 Mikey Boy, and he'll need to come in 2 laps time. The race now just coming to a little bit of a standstill. We've got Noah and Ferrari for life scrapping away into turn 1. And that got very, very close. And maybe a little bit too close as they made contact into turn 1. And that did lose Noah a lot of time. Ferrari for life, however, is gaining on Daryl, who tries to force him as close to the inside as possible. And moves up into 5th place. MCL will be the next car on the soft compound tyres, but you would have to imagine that MCL will be quicker on those soft compound tyres. And now we really just await the pit stops incoming from Mikey. And you would have to say Billy will need to pit again. We saw the tyres, or the medium tyres, go about 20 odd laps in this race for the other drivers. Currently 12 laps for Billy. You would surely imagine that he will need to be coming in again. So Billy Mewis leads then, lap 23 of 44. It's Billy that leads from F1 Mikey Boy in second place. Zasapi runs third with MCL in fourth. Ferrari for Life is fifth with Daryl in sixth place. Best Noah in seventh. Just Sager eighth with Andy Price in ninth. Ollie Southall is in 10th with Wise Wizard in 11th. Blake is 12th with Romeo Blues in 13th. And Durex currently running in 14th place. Up Eau Rouge we go once more with Billy Mewis. Gap 2.5 seconds between himself and F1 Mikey Boy. And that gap steadily growing between Billy and Mikey. But definitely not as quick as I thought it would. So Mikey's pace on those hard compound tyres that he's been on since the very start of this Grand Prix, still faring very well for him. And that does make me confident we could potentially see a little one-stop strategy from Mikey here. Zasapi pitted on the same lap as Billy Mewis and currently runs in third. We know MCL will be two-stopping 4 laps on those soft compound tyres. Zasapi, only 13 laps on the mediums, dives into the pit lane. Now you'd assume hards, it's medium tyres for Zasapi. Now he was one of the men that started on the softs, so he won't have to worry about making another pit stop. You'd imagine that will be his last, giving himself quite a lot of work to do in this final stint. As Zasapi, I'm sure, is up to the task. Darrell still not pitted either at the start, well, since the start of this race. Himself and F1 Mikey Boy, the only two drivers yet to pit in this Grand Prix, and we are quite a way through this Grand Prix, it must be said. Noah still right on the back of Darrell. Is there an opportunity for the Alpine to try and make a move through? Currently sat in 6th place, 15 lap old mediums versus 24 lap old hards. You would imagine that's probably quite an even battle between the two of them. Now we know that Mikey and Darrell will lose a lot of places when they come into the pits, but the pace they will have on the new tyres will definitely be astounding, and they will charge to the end of this race. Now we can see Zasapi and Darrell working together almost. Through goes Zasapi, and you'd imagine Darrell will let this move happen quite easily, as yes, he pulls to the inside, lets Zasapi have the racing line, although onto the grass goes Zasapi. These two, they are leading the Constructors' World Championship, but they are also 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship. So Darrell wanted to make it fair for his teammate, definitely didn't want to make it easy, as there onto the grass goes Noah. Now, like I say, I think the pit window for Mikey and Darrell will be around lap 30. But will they try and extend that stint just to get onto the soft compound tyres? Make the one stop work. They could realistically pit now for mediums, as Mikey Boy is diving into the pit lane then for what we assume will be his one and only pit stop in the Belgian Grand Prix. Now you would have to imagine this is for medium compound tyres. He makes his way into the pit box, and it is medium compound tyres going on to that V-carb. And to be honest, it doesn't look like Mikey is going to lose many positions at all. He's going to lose the position to MCL. He's going to lose the position to Ferrari for life. But Mikey Boy emerges in 4th place. And when we imagine everyone ahead will have to come into the pit lane besides Ferrari for life, it does look like at this current moment, it's advantage Mikey Boy. Although will Billy Mewis maybe take the opportunity to come into the pit lane now and try and cover off that undercut from F1 Mikey Boy. He's got a 15-second gap to MCL, who will inevitably have to come into the pit lane again as well. It looks like Ferrari for life is closing that gap between himself and MCL, so the soft tyres definitely have seen their best day go. Darrell is still out on track and is now the only man to have not pitted in this race. And the question is, will he maybe go for the strategy onto the soft compound tyres? As Billy is going to come into the pit lane to cover off the undercut. And you would imagine he had about a 5-second gap before he came into the pit lane onto the medium tyres once more. You'd imagine he'll come out ahead MCL now diving into the pit lane as well. So Ferrari for Life now takes second place and is maybe going to take the lead as he comes around the outside. Yes, he will. It is going to be a bit closer between Mikey and Billy, but Billy does remain ahead. Zasapi 6.5 seconds behind. If he's got the pace, he'll be able to catch up. But is on the older tyres. That will be his only concern. Daryl gets out ahead of MCL, and will definitely be in his interests to try and hold up the Williams driver. F1 Mikey Boy is closing in on Ferrari for Life, who it looks like may have let Billy through back into the lead and is now going to try and do a job for his teammate of holding up Mikey. 7 lap old hards to 1 lap old mediums. The battle will be fairer than you'd think, but how fair exactly is it going to be? DRS for Ferrari for Life. DRS for Mikey Boy. All of them saving battery, although actually Ferrari for Life draining his battery, now down to practically nothing. Billy Lewis only on 21% himself. F1 Mikey Boy 75%, so the advantage definitely looks Mikey's way, although Billy, the only man without a 3-second penalty out of the top 3. So Mikey will have to try and get past and then create a 3-second gap, which definitely will be easier said than done. Ferrari for Life has lost the DRS to his teammate Billy Lewis. He's going to try and hold off Mikey Boy, but is there really much that he can do with the superior battery and DRS? F1 Mikey Boy makes his way through up into second place. His next target's the leader Billy Lewis, his race-long rival. A lap difference in the tyres, so it is all going to come down now to who is quicker. F1 Mikey Boy, he's got to get through and then get a 3-second gap, which definitely isn't going to come easily. Both of them on very similar batteries. We go through Pouhon, lap 29 of 44 of this Belgian Grand Prix. And it looks like Mikey already shaping up a move as we go into the bus stop chicane. Runs a little bit wider, looking for the switchback. We're on board with Billy's teammate Ferrari for Life, who is still involved. Mikey knows that he doesn't want to go for the move into last source, and they're a big moment for Ferrari for Life under braking. Didn't realise that he'd catch up that much, and now a big moment on the exit. It looks like it's Mikey's time to overtake. They've got about the same battery. Mikey will have the DRS advantage as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight. It's going to be a lot closer as we get into the braking zone of Les Combes. Is he going to go for it? Yes, he is going to go for it, and that's very close. They make contact as they go through Les Combes, but F1 Mikey Boy does pull the move off. Billy is going to try and fight it back, though. Mikey forces him as close to the inside as possible, brakes very, very late, and manages to make his way through into the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. Now what he's got to do is try and get a 3-second gap on Billy Lewis. He's got 14 laps to do so. But Billy Lewis, definitely not an easy one to try and pull a gap on as Blake comes into the pit lane and retires from the session. And a safety car would definitely shake things up in this race. You'd imagine we'd have a lot of drivers into the pit lane, and that would really, really shake things up in this Grand Prix. Billy Mewis definitely not falling behind Mikey Boy as Mikey will have liked, but plenty more battery for the V-Carb driver. That DRS assistance and just how quick Billy Mewis is down the straights. You would surely imagine this is a move that's going to come very, very quickly. Billy just not able to make the move though. Mikey Boy, if he's going to try and pull a gap, it does need to be now. Plenty more battery for the V-Carb man. DRS assistance for Billy is going to assure that he can stick with him. And at this moment, it does look like it's going the way of Billy Mewis. Unless something very major happens in this race, which there's definitely opportunity for, it has to be said. Crazier things have happened in Formula 1, but Billy Mewis looks like he's got everything under control. Even if he comes across the line behind Mikey, the win will be his. I did actually forget to mention, Darrell did come into the pits 3 laps ago for the medium compound tyres, currently runs 9th. He's got about a 3.9 second gap to try and get to the back of best Noah, who is in the DRS of just Sega, so that definitely won't be an easy task. And Noah did recently pit as well, so maybe the one stop doesn't look like that may have been the quickest way to try and orientate this race. Billy Mewis then really gaining on the back of Mikey, whose car was shaking around all the way down the Kemmel straight. But as we get to 3/4 of the race distance, Billy Mewis once again retakes the lead, and Mikey Boy actually taking a bit of gravel as he tries to stick with him. Mikey Boy maybe driving with a bit of desperation at this moment in time as he's stuck behind Billy Mewis, trying to pull the gap when he needs to, but it just doesn't look like it's possible to try and shake off the threat of Billy, who has been in positions to win races all season long. It may only be, I think it's round 3 of the season, but in the past 2 races and in the pre-season test, looked a great shout to try and take victory, but has had that stripped away through driver error and some bad luck. And finally, it looks like a race is somewhat going Billy Mewis's way as he defends from Mikey, going into the bus stop chicane. Wheel-to-wheel action between the 2 drivers, very close. Mikey looking for the switchback. Great exit from Mikey, not using any overtake, using the DRS, and they're both trying to DRS trick each other, and this is only going to bring Ferrari for Life back into it. As F1 Mikey boy gets the exit, gets the overtake on, they've both got plenty of battery. Ferrari for Life though, is gaining on these 2 drivers. Is he going to be back in the DRS? He is. So all this jockeying for position is only going to be costing them time. Mikey does retake the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. Ferrari for Life just didn't have the battery to try and keep up. They definitely can't do that one too many times, otherwise that could really cost them. Ferrari for Life does seem to be harnessing a little bit of pace though on this lap. The gap now 0.8 of a second, and he's keeping true to the rear wing of his Ferrari teammate Billy Mewis, which I must say is not exactly something I expected being on the hard compound tyres. As through the bus stop chicane we go to begin lap 35 of this Belgian Grand Prix. On board with Ferrari for Life as we make our way up Eau Rouge, now down the Kemmel Straight. Is there an opportunity for Billy to try and take back the lead? There is, and these 2 jockeying for position every single lap. And that is only going to make the advantage swing back towards the way of Billy Mewis. With every lap that goes on, Ollie Southall picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently running down in 11th. Darrell is gaining on Andy Price, who currently runs in 7th place. Zasappi still running quite the quiet race in 4th place, it has to be said. 9.3 second gap ahead, 9.8 second gap behind. So just having a leisurely stroll, it seems, around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. These 3 at the front, you could honestly just watch them all day battling in and out. It doesn't look like anyone's got anyone's number. lap 36 of 44 of the Belgian Grand Prix, and it's Billy Mewis that leads out in front from F1 Mikey Boy in second place. Ferrari for Life runs in third with Zasapi in fourth. MCL is fifth with Best Noah in sixth place. Andy Price runs seventh with Daryl really gaining up to the back of him in eighth. Wise Wizard is ninth with Just Sega in 10th. Ollie Southall is 11th with Romeo Blues 12th and Durex 13th. We now make our way towards lap 37, just a handful of laps left to go in this Belgian Grand Prix. And what a Belgian Grand Prix it's been. Drama all throughout, battling all throughout, and still there could be a twist in the tail. Daryl has really gained up to the back of Andy Price, and I think Andy knows he really can't fight this as DRS for the McLaren, and he sails past with the Mercedes engine on the Renault engine, and through into 7th goes Daryl. He's got a 3.6 second gap if he wants to try and gain on Noah. He's got quite a few laps to do it. Definitely needs to try and turn the pace up a notch. He is to try and take 6th. There's then a 12-second gap to MCL. It doesn't look like that will be taken, but the championship leader, definitely not a race he would have hoped for. Still scoring very valuable points in terms of the World Championship, and we've got big battling going on here through the bus stop chicane as Ferrari for Life actually takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Billy Mewis now runs second. F1 Mikey Boy in there battling away as well. Billy is just going to have to slot into third. But still advantage Billy. He's the only man without a penalty. He's the man with the most battery as well, and still using it as we go up towards Eau Rouge. Has to actually brake as we go through Eau Rouge, and Mikey runs very, very wide there. Ferrari for Life knows he can't fight this. Is there a gap on the inside for Billy to try and get through? Mikey's placing that car where it needs to be, towards the inside line. Looks Billy, but just isn't able to get through, and we once again run Mikey, Billy, Ferrari in this race. Out of turn 1, we come once more and towards the iconic Eau Rouge Radeon complex. It does look like Billy is going to have the pace to try and get back through on F1 Mikey Boy. Mikey will defend the outside racing line, but it's not even going to come to the braking zone as Billy chops over and takes the racing line once more. Back into the lead goes Billy, and I'm sure this is going from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs for Billy Mewis, who has struggled in recent weeks in really all tiers of WRC. finally being able to come back, show what you're made of, and complete the full package, finish at the front. Everyone knows Billy Mewis is scarily quick in a Formula 1 car. As Ferrari for Life actually looks to dive round the outside of F1 Mikey Boy, but Mikey placing that car absolutely perfectly. Oh, we're 3 wide, and that's a big crash there for the leaders. Ferrari for Life is out, and we do have a safety car in this race. And finally, this race does come to blows. Billy Mewis into the pit lane, Mikey Boy into the pit lane. Ferrari for Life is out. And that was always going to happen as we came out of Blanchimont and towards the bus stop chicane. 3 drivers all competing so hard. Now they're all going to be on the same tyres. Ferrari for Life leaves the session, and understandably so. A massive crash there between all of them, and MCL now inherits the lead. It's going to be Billy Mewis who takes second place. F1 Mikey Boy will come out third. It looks like everyone's coming into pits. Zasapi's onto the hard tyres with only 4 laps to go. So he's going to struggle at the start, or at the restart, sorry. Ferrari for Life in the chat saying, is he okay? Who are you referring to in that message? Billy or Mikey? Because obviously all of you were involved in that crash. I can't say I really saw there was anyone to blame. It just looked like 3 into 1 didn't go, and you all sort of got stuck on each other. Ferrari for Life, Mike. If you wouldn't mind, Ferrari for Life, would you mind explaining your perspective of the crash? Because obviously we saw it on board, I believe, with F1 Mikey Boy. But that all happened and unfolded so quickly. All of you very 3 wide in towards the bus stop. And it just seemed Mikey was left in the middle of a Ferrari sandwich. You all pincered and off into the wall everyone went. It's just unfortunate that Ferrari for Life was the man that took that, and Billy Mewis has picked up damage after hitting MCL under the safety car. Me and Billy was side by side, and there was joking room for Mike on the outside. Clearly he should have went to the right or backed out, but instead he tried shoving my rear wheel out of his way. I mean, that's definitely a perspective. Obviously everything realistically in life is a matter of perspective. Obviously you'll be able to see, I believe Mikey's on board through the stream. I'm sure there'll be a ticket made, so Billy's POV of it will also be involved. So, you know, it's always easy after a crash, especially when you're at the front, to start blaming people and, you know, saying what did you do this for and what did you do that for. But I would just wait until all the POVs are out, until all the perspectives are out, and then, you know, of course, you know, if there is blame to be held, you know, stewards are involved. They will obviously do what they can to make sure that everything runs fairly. Thank you very much, Ferrari for Life. I do appreciate that, my friend. And I wish you well next week. But all of these crashes are definitely a matter of perspective. Obviously, you guys get the perspective on stream. Everyone, all of these 12 drivers remaining in this race will have their own perspective of their drives and their incidents and whatnot. But you've just got to let the stewards team do their thing. You know, the stewards, most of them either do race or have raced before. So it's difficult to call something immediately. Obviously, heat of the moment, you're going to be, you know, thinking, oh, my race was ruined, you know, I'm out of the Grand Prix, it's your fault, whoever. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be frustrating when something like that happens. It's always going to be frustrating, but there's still plenty more races of this season. And plenty more time to score points. Daryl saying a chance for me, poor race. Well, I imagine surely you'll get ahead of Zasapi because Zasapi on the hard compound tyres, MCL as well on very old hard compound tyres. You haven't got a penalty either, Daryl. If you can stick with Mikey and MCL, that will be another position gained. Exactly, Noah. The people with penalties might be cooked because you'd imagine the safety car will be in this lap. That's going to leave us with 3 racing laps to try and build a 3-second gap to everyone. It is definitely not going to be easy. The safety car is coming in this lap then. And MCL becomes the de facto safety car. When will the Williams decide to peel off? We will ride on board with him and see when he decides to get this race back underway. He's gone now. He's gone very, very early as MCL, and he has actually caught Billy Mewis napping a bit. But very deep into the bus stop goes MCL, and all of that progress looks to be coming down as Billy Mewis now chases after the Williams as we make our way towards La Source. MCL will hold the position, but again, very deep into La Source. Better exit for Billy Mewis, and towards Eau Rouge we go. MCL, he's going to use the battery to try and fight it, but just isn't able to. And Billy Mewis once again leads here in Belgium. F1 Mikey Boy chases on. We're going to switch it to the penalty screen here as we can see many people with penalties. This is getting very close as they all open up 3 wide into Les Combes. Mikey Boy takes the lead, and Billy Mewis with damage. How much is that damage going to harm the Ferrari driver? Is Mikey maybe able to try and pull a 3-second gap? He's got a couple of laps to do it, but he needs to get the pace down, and he needs to do it now. Billy Mewis runs second. MCL is third with Zasapi in 4th place. Daryl's already up to 5th and looks to the outside of Pouon, but just isn't able to get a car's width through there. The gap between Billy and Mikey currently about 0.7 of a second. More battery for Mikey as well, who is in hot lap, is pushing that car like crazy to try and firstly get out of the DRS and then try and break away from that 3-second gap. MCL's falling behind already. Zasapi looks to be gaining on him, but Daryl looks a real threat as we make our way through Blanchimont. That's very close between the 2 McLaren drivers who go wheel to wheel. The top 2 in the championship, wheel to wheel through the bus stop chicane. Surely Daryl will get the better exit. Mikey Boy with the fastest lap of the race has dropped Billy out of the DRS. Daryl does get up into 4th place and will have the DRS as Noah chucks it down the inside. That's a very, very bold move. Is he going to be able to get the better exit? He's on the better tyres and does so. It's just Sega has a moment out of turn 1. Drops all the way down to 10th. We've got a yellow flag, but I don't believe that's a genuine yellow flag. 1.6 seconds is the gap between Billy and Mikey, and they both have the same battery. And with 2 more laps to go of this Belgian Grand Prix, it does look like there's an opportunity for Mikey to try and pull away and get this gap. And that's all because Billy went into the back of MCL under the safety car, picked up some front wing damage, and this race has changed so many times. Once again, goes under another change. Billy using all the battery he can as we go towards Pouon to try and get himself and keep himself within the 3-second gap. But the gap now 2.2 seconds between the Ferrari and the V-Carb. MCL still running 3rd with Daryl right behind him. Noah runs 5th with Zasapi in 6th place. So it does look like Daryl will hold on to his championship lead after a thrilling Belgian Grand Prix. The gap still 2.2 seconds between Billy and F1 Mikey Boy, both of them with barely any battery as we make our way towards the bus stop chicane. The only thing that Mikey's got to do now is just keep pulling that gap out and pray that he doesn't extend the track limits and get another penalty. As we come through the bus stop chicane, about another 1 minute and 44-ish seconds left of this Belgian Grand Prix. And what a Belgian Grand Prix it's been. The gap 2.3 seconds between Billy and Mikey, draining the overtake. Billy actually with a bit more of the overtake button as we make our way out of last source. Daryl does make his way up to third. Noah's in fourth and will surely have a great shot of getting through on Daryl as we go up the Kemmel Straight. The gap 2.2 seconds, 2.3 seconds between Mikey and Billy, who's actually not got any battery anymore. Neither does Mikey. The gap 2.4 seconds as MCL manages to get back through on Noah, and that surely saves Daryl's race. MCL goes very, very deep. Has to slow down to avoid getting a penalty. But all our eyes now are on the gap at the front. 2.6 seconds now between Mikey and Billy. 4 more tenths to go for Mikey. But that gap is staying quite stagnant, and majorly using the ERS is Billy Mewis. There's Mikey's gone round, and through goes Billy into the lead. Pushing too hard was Mikey on this lap. Daryl's now going to inherit second. Noah's going to go through as well. MCL won't, nor will Andy Price because of their penalties. But drama on the final lap, and finally a crowning moment for Billy Mewis, who has worked so hard and has had driver error and bad luck that has really shaped his season thus far. And it looked like it would come to that again with the damage under the safety car. But finally, a crowning moment for Billy Mewis. The mistake from Mikey, and through the bus stop chicane. What a Belgian Grand Prix we have witnessed. And it's Billy Mewis that wins the Belgian Grand Prix. It's Mikey Boy who on track finishes second, but Daryl will inherit second place. Noah finishes third. It's Mikey Boy that takes fourth. Zasapi finishes in fifth. And what a Grand Prix that was. And Billy Mewis finally wins here in WRC. Mikey Boy saying that he had rear wing damage. What an end to that Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen. And it's Billy Mewis on top, finally. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Billy Mewis wins an amazing Belgian Grand Prix. Daryl finishes second, with Best Noah finishing in third. It's F1 Mikey Boy fourth, with Zasapi in fifth, if I could speak English. Wise Wizard finishes sixth, with MCL down in seventh. Romeo Blues is eighth, with Andy Price in ninth. Durex finishes 10th. Then it's Ollie Southall in 11th. Just Sega in 12th, with Ferrari for Life, Blake, Jenny, King Fenrir and Brocker all failing to reach the flag. Thank you very much, Ollie. Much appreciated. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to everyone in the chat as well. My name's been JP. I've been your commentator. An absolute pleasure to be here in Belgium. We will be back next week, same time as always. Turn those notifications on. And yeah, what more is there to say? As always, from me to you, wherever you are in the world,